Hey everyone, my name is Scott, better known as Narebo, and welcome back to another one of my airliner art videos. Today, I am tackling a very difficult one. It's the Garuda Indonesia, I think that's how you say that, the Garuda Indonesia new livery on the Boeing 737 MAX 8. This is my template, by the way, and as always, there's a link in the description below to that template, the 1024 wide JPEG version. You can get that for free. And so let's just get right into this. I am in Adobe Illustrator right now, and as you can see, I'm just tracing out the shapes of the vertical stabilizer graphic, those cuts, or those, I don't know what you want to call those, it's a very complex graphic, and I'm just tracing them out over a photo that I found on airliners.net, I believe. It's what I always do. If you've seen my videos, you've seen me do this a million times. However, the way that I'm doing this is a little bit different. Normally, I trace each shape individually, and then I kind of put it all together like a puzzle at the end once I get everything drawn. I mean, that's a fine way of doing it, but you end up with gaps sometimes, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I feel like I can get much tighter with my illustrations and much tighter with my complex graphics like this. So I figured this is a new way to just experiment a little bit. So what I did is I created a shape for each line. It sounds complicated, I know, because it's such a complex livery, but I just layered them over top of one another, and then my goal is to use the Adobe Illustrator Pathfinder tool just to press one button, and boom, it'll cut out all those shapes individually. So as you can see, I've got everything layered there, and yeah, it's really hard to explain, but I've got everything layered over top of one another. I'm just going to use the Pathfinder tool to cut out all the shapes automatically, and then that way I don't have to assemble each piece on their own. Basically, this livery was a nightmare. Even doing it that way, I lost track so many times of what I was doing, and really, no matter how many different ways I would have tried this or however I would have done it, it would have been difficult. But yeah, so as you can see now, after doing the Pathfinder tool on all those shapes that I created, they're all individual pieces now, and now I'm just going in and adding color to each of those individual pieces to match what is shown on the photo. And I know this looks like a total mess right now, and it may not make sense at all, but it will very quickly. So what I did is I just copied that, and I pasted that right over into Photoshop as a Vector Smart object over top of my Boeing 737 MAX 8 template. And now I'm just kind of getting it placed visually, just using my eyeballs, trying to get it to match up as closely as possible to that photo. And, at first I thought I messed up a little bit. I thought that, wow, this this isn't looking good. It's not even close. But then as I started to scale things a little bit and get things placed where they should be, it started to look about right. The colors weren't totally accurate, but it was close enough. And after all that struggling that I did in Adobe Illustrator, trying to keep track of each individual line and just losing my mind and pulling out my hair, and it felt really good to have it finally in Photoshop where I could see that, yes, what I did work. It worked correctly, and I was doing the right thing. So now I'm just trying to max, or to use a mask to trim that curved shape, just to basically trim that out on the edge, or in the front edge like that. So yeah. So as you can see, I've got all that cut out now, and it's just a matter of adding in a bottom section, which I didn't add, or I didn't create in Adobe Illustrator. So yep, I got that in there, and I just add the multiply blending mode, so all the shadows of the template underneath shows through, and then it looks like everything has shape, and it looks somewhat realistic. And I'm back in Adobe Illustrator right now. I'm just tracing the winglet graphic, and I'm not worried about being too accurate here. I mean, this is such a simple graphic, and a lot of it is going to be in shadows anyway, so it may not be seen all that much in the actual illustration. So I wasn't too concerned about that. I was a little bit concerned that at first because it looked so complex, but really once you look at, or you get a better look at that graphic, you can see there's not much to it. It's just a blue background with a few stripes of blue and turquoise running through it. It's not that bad, and it actually only took just a few minutes, and it wasn't all that difficult. And as you'll see as I get it placed here, a lot of it is in shadows. It's going to be a little bit darker, so you won't really see all the detail anyway. So, and again, when it comes to doing airliner art, you don't have to nail everything unless you're trying to do a really detailed photorealistic illustration, which, you know, I try. I don't have the patience to do something that's totally photorealistic. I just try to get close enough, and I was pretty happy with the way that this is going so far. Got the titles, or the registration number there. Getting things organized in my layer palette in my of the template of my 737 MAX 8. Get the registration there for the nose gear, that door flap. Get the stripe in there. Make it a little thicker. Add a blending mode. Get another little stripe here. Apply a multiply blending mode to that, so the transparency shows through. 737 MAX 8 graphics, which there is a Boeing font out there for free on the internet. You can find it, and it's a nice little thing to have if you're doing airliner art. A lot. Just having that Boeing font is very convenient, as is the Airbus font, which you can find for free. It's out there. So now I am back in Adobe Illustrator. I am tracing a graphic that I found of the Garuda Indonesia logo. And yes, there are vector graphics and logos that I could have just taken and placed directly onto my illustration, but I always like creating everything from scratch. I say that in every single video. If you've seen one of my videos, I say it in all my videos. I just like creating everything from scratch. This was a fairly technical logo to recreate. I figured it was just, I could start with that smaller piece and then scale up to get the bigger pieces, but it didn't quite work that way, so I had to end up drawing each one of these by hand. But it's fairly easy with Adobe Illustrator and the pen tool, and it's just a matter of pushing and pulling points and handles, and once you get the hang of that kind of thing, it's not that hard. It's really hard at first if you're just learning. I remember what it was like when I first started. It was so frustrating, but once you do it enough, it just becomes second nature, and creating these kind of logos, it's just, 10 minutes tops, and it's just, you get the satisfaction of knowing that you created the graphic, you did it, you're not stealing anybody else's images or graphics, and everything that you create for your airliner art is yours. That being said, I did cheat a little bit with the Garuda Indonesia titles here. I just took the graphic, or the part of the graphic that had those titles, and I just used an image to place over top of my template. I did not create those in vector in vector format. So I don't always create my own graphics. In this case, I didn't, just simply because I was running out of time. I was just getting my brain was tired, and I didn't feel like tracing all of that out. So I just, for the sake of this illustration, I just copied something. I just took what I had and placed it onto my template, and I may go back and recreate it, but oh well. Anyway, so I am at the very end of my illustration now. It's all complete except for the gloss and reflection that I always add to my airliner art, or my aircraft illustrations. It's just a matter of creating a hard reflection right down the middle of the aircraft. You've seen me do it a million times on all my videos. If you want to see me do it in other ways, make sure you go back and you check some of my previous videos. And more specifically, if you want to learn how I create airliner art as a whole, my entire process from beginning to end, from the research to the actual creation of the livery itself, to creating background graphics, to everything, I do have a full course available on this. Yes, Airliner Art 101. It's a full video course that I spent an entire month creating for specifically teaching you how to create airliner art exactly the way that I do it. I highly recommend checking it out. All of the stuff that I cover in there is much more in depth compared to what I'm showing in these videos. So it's much more of a learning experience, whereas these videos that I'm posting now are just kind of showing you, hey, look at me, this is how I do it. But my video course explains everything in excruciating detail. So if you're interested in that, check it out, the link in the description below. And I thank you for watching this video. I hope this was helpful and entertaining. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.